Montreal. Gain of 9.
I see a nice cut back here from Jerome Messam. Going to start this one off to the right and bounces it back. Behind his guard and tackle, left guard and tackle, Derek Dennis. Randy Richards over on that side.
5 carries, 25 yards for Jerome Messam so far in this game as he heads off.
Yeah, you'll see he kind of gets hit in the back of the hip right at the end of that play by the safety, Marco Briette.
So I mentioned 5 first downs so far. This could make it 6 in short yardage with Andrew Buckley in, the short yardage QB for Calgary. Scored a lot of touchdowns so far this season too, but Buckley does lean over and gets that first down by the looks of things.
Andrew Buckley and his efficiency in these short yardage situations is part of the reason Drew Tate hasn't seen a lot of snaps this year. Buckley sort of took command of this short yardage group. There was no reason to go to the veteran Tate.
And this, you know, hopefully nothing serious, but this does go to our point, the dilemma that the Stampeders constantly face about resting starters and making sure that there's no rust from not having played for a long time. Messam getting tended to certainly doesn't look like anything serious right now. It's Torrey Harrison in at running back instead, and he is making some hay there as well as he gets down inside the 15, and yet another first down for the Calgary Stampeders.
Torrey Harrison, a guy who'll get a handful of snaps every game at running back in place of Jerome Messam. Certain packages, etc., as they try to keep these guys fresh. Very good option to go with.
Their first possession led to a field goal. They've driven in deeper in Montreal territory now from the 12. End zone look, and just overthrown. Simon Charbonneau-Campo falling incomplete, second down.
Charbonneau-Campo is a guy who's had a nice comeback season, limited to 3 games, just 3 catches in 2015 due to injury. But the depth that he provides, along with Anthony Parker and Lamar Durant in terms of Canadian receivers for this Stampeder team. This is what gives them some ratio flexibility to be able to roll Torrey Harrison into the lineup to spell Jerome Messam at times. They can bring one of these guys in for one of their American receivers.
Second down, Tate. End zone look again, it's intercepted. This one is picked off by the new man on the corner, Khalid Wooten from Montreal. The Alouettes celebrate. The defense comes up big again as Tate makes his first big mistake, picked off in the end zone.
Making impact in his first CFL start. He's out on the corner, matched up with Tavares Daniels. And again, it looks like Tate and Daniels not exactly on the same page here in terms of where the ball's going. Daniels looking maybe a little more like he's expecting a fade, a little more air on that ball perhaps.
And back discussing it over, one that Drew Tate.
Yeah, it looked like he went for the throw behind there. Wooten was just well positioned to step in front.
And so they run the ball on first down to get it past the 5 up to about the 7 as Brandon Rutley for the Alouettes.
Rutley carrying the load down the stretch for the Alouettes. What has been an injury-plagued year for Terrell Sutton, 2015 rushing champ.
Big second down deep in their own zone. They prevented any score by Calgary, but they would be punting from their end zone or giving up the 2 if they can't get the first down here. And that is deflected, so batted down. Some more good pressure. Stampeders D is doing a job against this Montreal offense so far, so out they come, and then you just give up 2 more points and get some better field position.
Yeah, I think when you're the Montreal Alouettes playing with a young quarterback, you want to put him in the best possible position to succeed, and a big part of that to me has to do with field position. If you have an opportunity to give him that, I think you do, personally.
And that's really been the story as Beattie does take a knee and make it a 5-0 game. But for the Alouettes, the defense can put them in a good situation, or at least prevent a score. But it has been the offense that has struggled so much in Montreal. Well, this is the culmination of the second last week. The last week, week 20 in the CFL regular season begins with Friday night football and the rematch of the home and home. This one in Ottawa, the Red Blacks, who won yesterday pretty impressively over Matt Nichols and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So they meet again. Ottawa has clinched first in the East for Winnipeg. Still a lot at stake. The Bombers right now could finish anywhere from 2 to 4 and be the crossover team. So if they lost that game and Edmonton won, the Eskimos, who play the Argos to finish up, would pass them in the standings on the basis of a tiebreaker. Yes, it's that kind of year. It's always interesting in football, though, because since when do fans need an excuse to dress up?
So true. So true. But day before Halloween, take it to a new level.
As a lot of fans have been doing here. Jacques Chapdelaine took over last month from general manager Jim Popp the coaching duties, and longtime assistant in the CFL, and won that one here, the debut against the Argos. Lost a couple of games to Edmonton and Calgary, and then winning last week in Saskatchewan. But mentioning how difficult it has been for the man that's been around right since the start of the Alouettes franchise when it was reborn 20 years ago, Jim Popp. But it has been difficult. A lot of change, and some involving himself too, as he's taken stints at coaching. So kicking off after giving up the safety, and it is Torrey Harrison that does take it and work his way up. Once again, Calgary is starting with good field position. Not as good as they would have had, of course, if the Alouettes decided to punt the football, but still. Drew Tate will come in after having thrown that interception, and Calgary's at their 40-yard line.
And again, as we've seen Drew Tate on the last interception, where it looks like there's just that miscommunication, lack of familiarity with the receiver, just not being on the same page exactly, and to be expected. Again, he's thrown only 6 passes this season, but this is the reason why Drew Tate is playing now, is to get some of those things worked out.
Well, he's thrown,
situation.
Up until then, he'd thrown 10 passes, completing that one. And a first down, so getting back to the way he started, it's Charbon Ocampo on the receiving end. Started 3 for 3. After that went 2 for 7, including the interception, but gets another completion there.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, under the circumstances, I think Drew Tate has looked pretty good here for the Calgary Stampeders. Moving the team downfield, number of first downs.
But negating that, looks like a holding penalty against Calgary. Pushing them back to the 30 now. So after that completion, all for naught. Negating a 14-yard play. So 1st and 20 after the hold. And Tate dumping it off to Messam. Breaks a tackle. And he gets about 6 of those yards back. It'll be 2nd and long for the Stampeders. So Messam seems to be fine after tweaking something earlier on and heading off to the sideline.
Yeah, just the standard bumps and bruises that are an occupational hazard. You get as many touches in the course of the game as Jerome Messam does. 250 plus pounds. He's not going to be dented that easily.
On 2nd down, and that one falls short into the turf. And what is the last play by the looks of things of the quarter? Tavares Daniels, the intended receiver. So an incompletion and a punting situation to start the second quarter for the Calgary Stampeders. Points are harder to come by against that Alouette defense. The day before Halloween, and it's 5-0 Calgary heading to quarter 2.
Listen closely. Can you?
One quarter here in Montreal, mainly on the scoreboard, only a 5-0 lead for Calgary. A couple of weeks ago, it was 2-0 late in the second quarter before the Stamps finally started opening up. So that's how it is. There's your story. Montreal can't move the ball, but they can defend, and that's been going on again today.
Yeah, but if the time of possession stays the way it is, I mean, that's ridiculous dominance for the first quarter in that regard. You're going to have an exhausted Montreal defense, and as you said, it's been the story of the season for the Alouettes that the defense holds on as long as they can, but if you're not getting any help from the O, it's going to be a long, long day.
Of course, the big story heading into this game is the pursuit of the record for the Calgary Stampeders. They're 15-1-1 heading in. If they win, it would be, well, the second team ever to get 16 wins in a regular season, but it would still be the greatest winning percentage ever in the modern-day Canadian Football League. Dave Dickinson takes it seriously, but also wants to make sure that his players, his team, are prepared for something far more important, and that is getting to the Grey Cup, the Western Final they play at McMahon Stadium on November the 20th. Chasing a very impressive history. Edmonton Eskimos of 1989. The big asterisk there is they didn't win the Grey Cup. They were upset in the Western Final, but they went 16-2, the only team ever in CFL history to win 16 games, led by Tracy Ham. Calgary Stampeders, Dwayne, well, they've had a lot of 15-win seasons and not always a Grey Cup to show for it either.
Well, 93, 94, 95, what a lot of people would label as some of the most talented Stampeder teams ever, but not a Grey Cup to show for any of those years.
So at the start of the second quarter, Nick Lewis, there's a guy chasing history and makes his first catch of this game. And with that, ties Alan Pitts, 5th all-time for receptions in the history of the Canadian Football League.
Oh, that speaks volumes for me. As I've always maintained, I think Alan Pitts is the greatest receiver ever to play in the Canadian Football League. So impressive company for Nick Lewis.
As fate would have it, ties one of the all-time great Stampeders and CFL players. Lewis himself, of course, most of his career defined by his time in Calgary, and does it against Calgary to get 966. And there in the receiving end is Taekwon Underwood, who was activated just 2 weeks ago after Deron Carter and Kenny Stafford were released after their game in Calgary.
Yeah, much conversation, obviously, about the release of those two receivers, but the Alouettes in kind of a fortunate situation in terms of the guys that they've been able to plug in. Taekwon Underwood, a guy who broke into the league last year after some time in the NFL with Hamilton last year, and Marcus Henry, of course, a veteran with Edmonton and Ottawa previously.
And another catch for Lewis, who passes Alan Pitts now, 967 of his career, and he's in pursuit of Darren Flutie, who he could catch today with a very good game. Lewis catch number 2, and the ball had come out, and there's still no whistle down. Tommy Campbell has it. So Lewis had coughed it up, and Lewis is still saying it should be. I'm sure they'll challenge it depending on the ruling here. But it looked like he was down before the ball came out, and it hadn't been whistled dead, and Lewis telling you what he thinks.
Yeah, and we'll take a close look here, see if we can tell exactly when the ball popped loose. And there he's
Clearly
definitely down. Ball wrestled out at the end, but it's kind of the conventional wisdom of officiating is let it play out. Let them play it out.
The ruling on the field is that the Montreal player caught the ball and he was down by contact prior to the fumble. It will be first down, Montreal.
Well, either way, Nick Lewis was getting the reception, but he'd far rather get the one that puts him into 5th alone all time by hanging on to that football, which he did do.
Right. Had about 4 Calgary Stampeder defenders. He was pushing, dragging, moving the pile.
He wants that football. He's alone past Alan Pitts now, 5th all time, and only 6 away from Darren Flutie for 4th all time. Adams looked like he wanted to throw off to his left, and Charleston Hughes takes him down for sack number 16, padding his lead in the sack race in the Canadian Football League.
Charleston Hughes with a big day. He's got his eye on his career high of 18. Said a couple of years ago. There you see the all-time leading receivers in CFL history is Nick Lewis. Climbs up to number 5.
And 5 shy of tying Flutie. So possible today, and 6, of course, to go alone in 4th, and then it'd be a bit more of a hike to catch Terry Vaughn, but still, what a great career Nick Lewis has had. It started back in 2004. Matt Dunnigan was there with the Calgary Stampeders. Won championships there under pressure again. Hughes nearly got Adams again, and look who has the ball again. Nick Lewis. It was a good drive for him. Catch number 3, so he continues to add to his receiving total.
Well, this is the thing that stood out to me most in terms of Vernon Adams' strengths that he demonstrated against Saskatchewan last week, is just his ability to sense and avoid hits in the pocket, his elusiveness.
But that third catch not enough for a first down, though, as the Alouettes punt, and Beattie sends this one well into the end zone as Roy Finch just gently watches it roll out for the first point on the board for the Alouettes. Although a flag is down, we'll sort that out. They talk it over. Hey, we're all CFL fans. Share your fan moments. Hashtag Marks Fan Cam. A little easier to spot the fans dressing up when it's before Halloween, or just to stay warm. You be careful there. Not quite cold enough now. You know, you need to drop a few more degrees, but definitely don't want to be doing that. I can remember those days having done that. Might have been that young. Might have been a little older. What was that last costume, by the way?
The yellow guy?
I just caught the tail end of
It was
that.
a banana.
Went out as a banana, I thought so. Just wanted to be sure. Routine under pressure deep in his own zone. After a penalty, pushed the Stampeders further back. So there was no single on that, by the way, to take you back. It was illegal block against Calgary, pushing them deeper. So instead of getting that single point for the Alouettes, they do push Calgary to start this drive deep. And look at that. The flag down on Bear Woods, taking out Drew Tate.
Yeah, just kept the hands on a little bit
Major
too
foul,
long.
roughing the passer, Montreal number 48. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Bear Woods, who got a lot of pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell 2 weeks ago when they met in Calgary. He sacked him twice. In fact, the Alouettes had 4 quarterback sacks, which is just unheard of against that Calgary offense. And they made adjustments, and that was it. In the second half, it didn't happen again. But too much there for Bear Woods. Under pressure again, and that is thrown away.
Rod, you mentioned the Alouette success pass rushing against Calgary in their last meeting, and believe me, in making the change at quarterback for this game, that is something that the Stampeders were certainly aware of, trying to avoid some of those hits on Bo Levi Mitchell heading into the playoff.
Trying to implore the fans here at McGill to make some noise against this Calgary offense on 2nd and 10 now. The 15, and swinging it out for Torrey Harrison. And gets up across the 20, close to the 30-yard line, very close to another Stampeder first down.
Oh, nice explosiveness here. Little swing screen, bubble screen to the running back Harrison coming out of the backfield. Terrific pursuit there by Winston Venable. Not lose the angle on him.
And so Andrew Buckley is into this game. So another 3rd and short situation for the Stampeders now. Barely pushes it across the 30, and looks like they only needed about 6 inches. It'd be enough to move the chains and continue this drive. Indeed.
That was questionable at the start. Not a great surge from the Stampeder offensive line. Alan Michael Cash on the nose. Did a terrific job holding his ground, but second effort managed to get Buckley just what he needed.
A CIS star with the Calgary Dinos. I remember talking to Dave Dickinson about him before this season started. He really likes him and his abilities as a quarterback too. Drew Tate. And that one for Tavares Daniels. He got his hands on it, but it does behind him fall incomplete.
Drew Tate tried to thread this one into tough coverage. Veras Daniels is lined up on the outside, out to the wide field here. Jonathan Mincy, the rookie, providing the coverage.
Second down. Tate, the pump fake, and over the middle and wide open. And a big first down for Calgary. It's Simon Charbonneau-Campo on the receiving end across midfield.
Charbonneau, the middle receiver in that trips formation to the field. Just finds that soft spot in the zone between levels. Nicely run route by the Sherbrooke product. Great toss from Drew Tate.
Handing off to Harrison. And a short gain on first down. So they are in Alouettes territory again. And their very first possession, Tate drove them down and they had a field goal, 39-yarder by Paredes. And they've since added a safety. So a 5-0 lead. Mentioning it was Montreal, to their credit, stayed in it a couple of weeks ago. A 2-0 game right until about a minute to go when they finally got it into the end zone. And it was a 22-0 game really until the last few plays when the Alouettes finally got a touchdown in a 22-8 final. On second and long. And Drew Tate has thrown his second pick. It is Tyree Hollins this time with the interception. So Al's defense again, although that one was pretty well thrown right to him. Montreal football inside their 20.
Well, Tyree Hollins, the former Saskatchewan Roughrider, is making his second consecutive start at halfback. He gets his first pick of the year. If you watch over on the right side of the Stamps offensive line, they're going to end up with 3 blockers, including the running back, Torrey Harrison. But they leave the outside guy, Dan Fitterkyle, the tackle, squeezed down, expecting his guard to do the same, and presumably the running back to go outside. But running back Harrison took the inside guy. They left the outside man for the middle of the hit.
Adams fakes the handoff, keeps himself on first down, and has a good gain on that first down.